Hello, I'm Nate the Effing Great, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Game Changer Change the F Up edition. Now, of course, over the month, I've actually covered a couple rebookings that I have done, including Star Wars The Phantom Menace, as well as Star Wars Attack the Clones. Now we're in the final deal, which is Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. In all honesty, this was probably the best out of all three of them. There was action, there was a lot of character development that was put into this, and there was also the final deal in which we finally see Anakin Skywalker turn to the dark side. But there are still some people that are a little bit confused about this, and there's a little bit of flaws every now and then, but also the action can get to be a little bit too much. Now, you have to also remember that they've actually had battle scenes in almost 7 different planets, especially when they did the whole Order 66 deal, which was fine, but also they had to consider the fact that they had to go to Kashyyyk with Yoda, they had to go to the one planet where Obi-Wan fought General Grievous, they had to go from there to also focusing on Coruscant, where what was going on with Anakin, and it was very, very rough, to say the least. So, I think that's where I want to kind of start it, is that we're not going to have all this craziness going on. Instead, we're going to be focusing on just a few planets, and we're going to take it from there. In this case, mainly 2. We'll still have the deal in which the 66 deal, Order 66, has gone through, but I'll get into more of that a little bit later. So, honestly, there's only going to be a few spots here and there where they might be nitpicking or just changing a couple things, but other than that, it might seem like it's the same movie, but like I said, with a little more exposition. So, let's just get right into it. So, how would I rebook Star Wars Revenge of the Sith? Honestly, the first part of it was actually pretty good. I thought that the space scene was very nice, and the action wasn't exactly too much. So we would fast forward all the way to the room in which Chancellor Palpatine is being held, and we get the encounter with not General Grievous, but with Darth Maul. He comes into this deal, and he has his new robotic legs. If you remember in the first one, I basically had to where he was cut from the waist down, so they actually put legs on there. It kind of gives a little bit of a callback to the Clone Wars. It actually does really work out. And we actually see him having still quite a bit of an advantage over Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi. They fight him off, but Obi-Wan is able to actually damage a bit of the legs of Darth Maul, but Darth Maul is still able to escape. Chancellor Palpatine is still rescued, and the Trade Federation, along with Darth Maul, they actually retreat. It's one of those things where it's a fight for another day kind of deal. We still have the whole deal where basically Anakin is getting his, his props for being the one to lead the army and save everyone and blah, 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 blah. And we do, in fact, get the secret revealed by Padme that she is indeed pregnant. We still have a bit of the deal, and we are not going to do this whole, premonition deal that Anakin has. As much as, it kind of gave him motivation to turn to the dark side, you really have to give him a little bit more something that's conflicting. Because during this whole deal, you don't really see too much conflict going on with him. He just kind of went to it. It was kind of like, one day he's feeling like a Jedi, the next day he feels like he's a Sith. You need to build that up much better. So, after, talking with Padme, the next day, the Jedi Council, they have a meeting in which Anakin is being considered for the Council and to be a Jedi Master. And this is actually the 3rd time that they are considering this. Now, obviously, with belated media, they did it 4 times. I think for me, I just like it the 3 times, and, it's like a 3 strikes you're out kind of deal. And during this conversation, Obi-Wan actually gives Anakin a little bit of, positive reinforcement, saying, hey, this is probably going to be it. This is going to be the time that you're going to finally become a master, and I'm very proud of you. And we still get that building relationship between the two of them, because basically Obi-Wan's thinking, this is it. This is going to be the day. Well, of course, Mace Windu has to be the one that breaks the bad news, and he just says, we are not going to grant you the rank of master. And of course, Anakin, still full of joy and excitement, thinking that this is it, he does, of course, have that reaction of, what? This is unfair. I've done everything that you wanted. And this, of course, is when we would draw out Yoda. Because basically Mace Windu and the Council, they were almost in agreement with the fact that Anakin should be granted the rank of Master. But Yoda has basically overruled them as kind of like, the Grand Master. So Yoda makes his appearance, and he basically explains how he's not quite there yet. He still needs to wait, still needs to be patient. He is going to get to that point, but he's not there yet. And of course, Anakin, he doesn't ask how can he get there. He just assumed, I've done all this. You have that genuine emotion, and you feel that frustration starting to build up in there. So after the meeting is over, Obi-Wan and him have a conversation in which basically they talk, and Obi-Wan's still trying to calm him down, but Anakin's just like, what does it matter? I feel like I'm just going to be stuck as a Jedi, not as a Jedi Knight forever. I'm never going to be a master. Obi-Wan says, it took me years to finally get to that point. You have accomplished so much in half the time that I did. You're going to reach that. He's just basically reassuring Anakin. So while Anakin is still having this confliction, he's also still being reassured by Obi-Wan that, everything is going to be alright. And even he can bring in, maybe a quote that Qui-Gon Jinn brought in, that would something that would, help Anakin feel a little more at ease, because other than Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon Jinn was indeed a mainstay for Anakin. So, him bringing up a quote, maybe just, don't focus on the future, focus on the here and now. And Anakin, thinking, of course, what, Obi-Wan's right. I should be focused on that. I should be focused on the fact that, still I am a Jedi Knight, and that I'm going to be a father soon. But of course he doesn't reveal that to Obi-Wan. That's going to be one of those things that will be brought up later. So also during this time, the Jedi Council has elected that Anakin be a spokesman for the Council during the I'm trying to remember for the Senate. There we go. So he is definitely getting more time to talk to Chancellor Palpatine and getting a chance to talk to a lot of the other senators, get their opinions, and what they quote-unquote expect from the Jedi. And of course this eventually evolves into the whole deal in which basically Palpatine starts planting the seeds of the dark side, where he basically just brings up maybe stories of the dark side. And at first Anakin's a little bit resilient to it, but he's also thinking, he's learning about, he wants to learn about these powers. He wants to learn about all these other ways of the Force. And Chancellor Palpatine is asked the question of, how is it that you know this? And Chancellor Palpatine says, when you're a Chancellor, you have to look at every single aspect of the galaxy, including, the Force. And sometimes you have to look at the light side as well as the dark side. And Anakin feels like maybe he's going to have a tutor in Palpatine. But he doesn't just, straight up ask, oh, can you be my tutor? No. He's just learning these things. And we do get a little bit more deals. I think I would have 3 separate occasions where maybe Chancellor Palpatine talks about the dark side with Anakin. But also during this time, Obi-Wan Kenobi is sent to another planet to find Darth Maul and confront him, and they would also like for him to come back with Darth Maul, completely unharmed. So we build up the battle between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is basically the rematch from Phantom Menace, and it is what you would expect. Darth Maul is repaired, and they have a great knockdown drag-out fight between the two of them, and it seems like Obi-Wan Kenobi has the advantage, and then there comes a point where Darth Maul, he actually gets an upper hand on Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul just looks at him with a sadistic look. He's just saying, I'm going to do what I should have done a long time ago, just like I did to your master. And of course, this sets off Obi-Wan, because he remembers that, and maybe they can even have a flashback where he remembers when Qui-Gon Jinn got killed. This sets him off. He uses that aggression to defeat Darth Maul, but unfortunately, he also winds up killing Darth Maul. But after that, he doesn't give in to the dark side. He stops, and it's kind of like what happened with Luke during what was it? Return of the Jedi, where he has that anger, but he lets it go. He doesn't embrace it. He just basically casts it aside, and he just looks down at Darth Maul. He says, "I'm not going to turn into the person that you have become. The Sith are done." And Darth Maul just, before he dies, he just laughs and he says, "You think that I am the only one? You have to remember that the Sith can easily persuade others to the dark side." And let that kind of be of a little bit of foreshadowing as to what happened. Now, the third time that Chancellor Palpatine brings up the dark side to Anakin Skywalker, this is, of course, the grand reveal, where Emperor Palpatine does reveal the fact that, he is indeed the Sith Lord. And Anakin, of course, we have that whole deal where, he breaks out his lightsaber and he just says, "You're the Sith Lord." And Palpatine's just like, "I give you credit. You found out." Just making it seem like it was easy for Anakin. And of course we have that deal where again he's just saying, "I know you want to kill me. I can feel your anger. It gives you focus. It makes you strong." And Anakin, does the same thing that, he did, that Obi-Wan did to Darth Maul. Instead of giving into anger, he just resists it. And of course, he just figures, you know what? I'm going to turn you into the Jedi Council, and they will deal with you in the matter. And then Palpatine, before Anakin leaves, says this, "Think about this, with me gone. How can you be so sure that your wife will survive?" And it is kind of one of those situations where he's kind of contemplating playing that. And as he talks to Mace Windu, he also considers the fact that, the Jedi have not exactly been as, merciful to him, but Emperor Palpatine has actually been, treating him better. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if I go to this side, yes, I've worked hard, but I'm not getting it that much. If I go to this side, I've worked just as hard, but I'm getting rewarded, I'm getting complimented, I'm feeling more appreciative. But it also deals with the conflict of, do I serve the Jedi who have really just cast me aside? And this, again, continues that deal in which we saw, Mace basically say, "No, Anakin, there's a lot of conflict in you. We're not going to need you for this." And Anakin says, "No, I need to go with you." And Mace Windu basically, kind of says, "As your master, I'm ordering you to stay." And of course, Anakin just says, "Yes, master." A lot of hesitation, but he still stays. This, of course, gets us to the Mace Windu versus Jedi deal, in which Emperor Palpatine, of course, does his lightsaber battle. Then we have Anakin arrive later on after really contemplating, and Anakin actually fights Mace Windu. It's not the deal that happened at Revenge of the Sith. I thought that was kind of a really cheap way for Mace Windu to go, and it really just, I don't think it really served too much of a purpose. So instead, we actually have Mace Windu and Anakin actually fight, to where Anakin has this idea that the Jedi are trying to take over the Senate, where he's just basically saying, why would you try to assassinate somebody, but especially somebody within high power? And Mace Windu, of course, is just saying, no, you are blinded here, Anakin. You cannot believe everything that he's saying. But Anakin, unfortunately, does, and Palpatine still continues to put seeds in his head, and these seeds are not, just slowly growing. No, they're going fast paced, because all of these things that are going in Anakin's mind, they're just going really fast. Like, was the Jedi there when you needed comfort from the loss of your mother? Were they there when you needed help most? Were they there when you were feeling all this pain? No, I was. I was always there for you. So he's using that on Anakin to have it turned against Mace Windu. And of course, Anakin ends up killing Mace, and he starts having a little bit of resentment. But Darth Sidious says, you have to remember that the Jedi are trying to take over. If you join them, then you're no better than them. And he also reveals that he would have to kill him. But Anakin, with very little hesitation, just says, no, I am on the side of you. And having that scene, where he basically says, I pledge myself to your teachings, I think that's still important to put in there, because then you are showing that he has made his decision, and he's going to just lie in this bed. So, of course, we have just, we don't have him, revealed as Darth Vader, because I think that's just a little bit, I think it was just too soon. He didn't really exactly earn it. So instead, we still have the deal in which Darth Sidious says, go to the Jedi Temple, kill every single one of the Jedi, make sure that there is no one left, and then I want you to go to Mustafar system and defeat, take out the Trade Federation, wipe them out, and also destroy General Grievous. General Grievous and the rest of the Trade Federation are on the Mustafar system. So Emperor Palpatine is going to make it seem like, well, my young apprentice is going to be there to protect you. He's going to be there to ensure that, he's going to take good care of you. That kind of deal. So basically the same thing as the movie, but we also get another epic lightsaber battle between Anakin Skywalker and General Grievous, I should say. I almost said General Grievous for some reason. Like I said, the lightsaber battle between the two of them is actually very intense. But Anakin Skywalker does reach a point where he actually chops Grievous's arm, each of his arms one by one, and then it ends with Grievous on the ground, basically on his knees, and Anakin has his lightsaber to his head, and Grievous says, "You wouldn't kill me. It's not the way of the Jedi." And Anakin says, "I'm no longer a Jedi." And he kills General Grievous. So, from there, at the Mustafar system, we have Obi-Wan finding out the horrible truth about Anakin. Yoda, of course, goes along with him to the Jedi Temple, and we still have that scene in which Obi-Wan's saying, I will fight the Emperor. I'm not going to fight my brother Anakin. But Yoda says, "You're not strong enough. I need to face Sidious alone." So Yoda goes off to face Darth Sidious, and this is the only lightsaber fight that Yoda would be a part of. And it is a stalemate between the two of them. It's not going to be one of those things where it looks like, one has won and one has lost. No, it's just basically how it played off in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan goes to Padme to try and find Anakin, and Padme takes Obi-Wan and Owen Lars with them to the Mustafar system, and she doesn't know that Obi-Wan's being sent basically to kill him, but he believes that maybe Padme can help get Anakin on the right path. So they end up at the Mustafar system, and Obi-Wan actually stays on the ship with Owen, and Padme meets Anakin on the the shipping pad, their launching pad. There we go. And they have their conversation, in which Anakin talks about about how Padme wants to bring peace to the galaxy. Anakin basically says, I can do that for you. We can overthrow the Chancellor, and we can make the galaxy what we want it to be. And of course, this is where Padme just starts noticing, this is not you at all. You're talking very differently. What is this? And Anakin, he starts getting frustrated. And this is also where we would have the reveal, to where basically Anakin blurts out the fact. He said, I lost my mother, and I'm not going to lose you. And Padme basically said yes, but those talks about how the Tusken Raiders, they're probably still ashamed of what they've done. And then Anakin, he makes that reveal where he says they're not going to know those kind of feelings because I destroyed them. I destroyed every single one of them. And this is where Padme has that look of just, she feels betrayed. She feels like she's not knowing the person who she loved. It feels like everything was built on a lie. And that's where she's, emotionally wrecked. And, we still have that deal where she's talking about, you're going down a path I can't follow. And she's so brokenhearted. And Anakin notices Obi-Wan at the top of the panel, and that's where Anakin, he's just mad at Padme and actually turns away from her. And we don't have like that Force joke because it seemed a little weird. I would actually go for something that's a little bit more hard hitting. So basically, Padme is just saying, turn back, come with me. And Anakin, he goes, silence, and he actually swings his arm, and he actually strikes Padme. And it's kind of one of those moments where she does slowly see the fact that, this is no longer Anakin. This is not who she fell in love with. But, she gets knocked out, and Anakin, he looks over and he sees Obi-Wan. He's just saying, you turned her against me. You made her turn against me. And Obi-Wan, of course, does his deal where he talks about how, you did that yourself. You let the darkness consume you, and now you become the very thing that you wanted to destroy. So we have the epic lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin, in which it does end the same way. Where Obi-Wan does the whole high ground deal. It just seems like it's a pretty good way to end it. And where Anakin thinks like, oh, I'm unstoppable. You can't beat me. You underestimate my power. So unfortunately, Anakin gets struck. He's only got the one arm, like in the movie. And I definitely would still keep the dialogue that Obi-Wan had, because that is just one of the most heart-wrenching deals. And with it now, it means more than ever, because you saw the relationship that they've been building for these movies. So, Obi-Wan, he definitely is screaming, and you can definitely start feeling the emotions truly coming off of him, where he said, you were the chosen one. It said that you would destroy this, not join them, bring balance to the Force, not leave it all in darkness. And basically, Anakin, he screams Adam, you left me alone. You deserted me. You are nothing to me. I hate you. Just screaming at him. And then Obi-Wan, of course, says, you were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. Unfortunately, we do see the burning of Anakin, and he gets taken by Darth Sidious and by the robots to be transformed into Darth Vader. That's where he would get the name Darth Vader, because now, I feel like he's earned it. So, also, Obi-Wan finds out at that point that Padme is pregnant, and they actually go back to Alderaan, to which Padme gives birth to seemingly one child. And Obi-Wan and Owen and Yoda, they're all in there, and they're talking about, what's to be done with the boy. What is basically to be done, and Obi-Wan thinks, I'll take care of him, I'll tend to him, and Owen says, no, let me take him back to Tatooine. Let me get him as far away from this as possible. I don't want him to, be in any danger. Let me take him back to Tatooine. So Yoda and Obi-Wan agree, and Yoda actually makes a suggestion of Obi-Wan to go with Owen to protect the boy. And Owen, at first, he agrees, but I'll explain a little more in just a minute. So Obi-Wan and Owen, they head back to Tatooine, and Padme is with, Bail Organa, and she is actually holding her twin, but it's not revealed until it's not revealed until a little later. Everybody just assumes that it is just Luke, but of course people are asking, where's Leia? Where's Leia? We know, and of course she's holding Leia in her arms. So now we have a little bit more background to when Leia was asked by Luke, what her mother was like. At least now she can have some kind of, background story to who her real mother actually was. And, as time goes on, it can be revealed that, that she died when Leia was of a young age, but also she actually worked more as almost like a maid more than anything. Like, she put basically Padme put up Leia for adoption, in which Bail Organa and his wife are, supposedly, the parents. But, as time went on, they basically revealed who her real mother was, that kind of a deal. But for a long time, they're just Leia's under the impression that Bail Organa and, the Organas were her actual parents. So Obi-Wan and Owen arrive on Tatooine, and just as they're exiting the ship, Owen says, "Look, I said what I said back there to make Master Yoda happy. But I don't want you anywhere near Luke. I want you to be as far away from him as possible. I don't want him to get involved in any of this." Obi-Wan kind of, just kind of nods and says, "As much as I respect your wishes, and I will, he may indeed be a great, I'm trying to think of the right word. He may indeed be the biggest part of the future as you let on. I will still protect him, but he will not see me. Not unless the time is right." So Obi-Wan, goes into seclusion. And of course, Owen and Beru end up, adopting Luke. We do get the final scene in which he's actually showing the creation of the Death Star, And it ends on that, not on the two sons deal, as much as it seems like it's a cool thing to do. I just feel like it would make the first time we saw the son thing between... It felt like the two sons thing was just overdone, and it should really only be used when it's applied to Luke. That's the main thing here. And that's how I would have done Revenge of the Sith. So, thank you guys for whoever has listened to this. I'm hoping that you guys liked it. And honestly, I did this series mainly because of the fact that I just didn't like how the prequels really played out. There was either too much comedy, too much romance, too much action. There wasn't really an intermediate balance between them. And they had to make things flow right, and it just felt like everything was going either up, or it was going down, or it was just flatlined. So that was why I wanted to do this in the first place. And I'm glad that I got the chance to do it. It's one less thing now that I can take off of, I guess you could say, my bucket list of things that need to be changed, in my opinion. So I'm very proud of how I did it. Some of these things might have gotten a little confusing, but I think that for our final results, honestly, these trilogies would be a lot better if they were written this way. So, with that being said, I have been Nate the Effing Great. Thank you so much for joining me here, and this is going to indeed conclude it. It is indeed the month of May, and we're going to be going into June very soon. So, hey, the Force was with us. The Force was with us. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to give us a like on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. And just have a great week, you guys. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.